Welcome to the Discourse Analyzer AI Toolkit, where articles come alive. You're listening to the audio version of our article. For the full text and an interactive experience, check out the link in the description below. Interact with any selection using our AI assistant to enhance your understanding. Let's explore.
Learner engagement in discourse analysis. Interactive assistant learner engagement refers to the level of interest, participation, and emotional involvement students exhibit during learning activities. In discourse analysis, learner engagement is examined by analyzing how students interact with teachers, peers, and content in educational settings. Through the study of language, discourse analysis reveals how engagement is constructed, maintained, or hindered in the classroom, focusing on how communication patterns shape learning experiences. Discourse analysis of learner engagement looks at the types of interactions that encourage active participation, critical thinking, and motivation. It also considers how power dynamics, questioning strategies, feedback, and classroom management influence students' willingness to engage in learning. This approach helps educators identify effective language practices that promote deeper cognitive and emotional involvement, and it also reveals potential barriers to engagement, such as disengaging instructional methods or unequal participation opportunities. Key features of learner engagement in discourse analysis. 1. Participation in classroom discourse. Participation is a key indicator of learner engagement, as it reflects students' involvement in classroom discussions, activities, and interactions. Discourse analysis examines how teachers structure opportunities for participation, who speaks, how often, and what roles students take in the interaction. Example. In a whole class discussion, a teacher may ask, "Who can tell me what happens next in the story?" Discourse analysis would explore whether certain students consistently respond while others remain silent, and how the teacher's language either invites or discourages broad participation. The analysis would look at turn-taking patterns, interruptions, and how different students are positioned in the conversation. 2. Questioning and cognitive engagement. Teachers use questions to stimulate cognitive engagement by prompting students to think critically, reflect on ideas, or apply knowledge. Discourse analysis of questioning techniques focuses on the types of questions posed, open-ended versus closed-ended, and how these questions encourage different levels of intellectual engagement. Example. A teacher might ask, "Why do you think the author chose this setting?" An open-ended question, which encourages students to explore deeper meanings and interpretations. Discourse analysis would examine how such questions foster cognitive engagement by requiring students to analyze and evaluate, rather than simply recall information. The analysis would also look at whether students engage with each other's answers or whether the teacher controls the flow of the discussion. 3. Interaction with peers. Peer interaction plays an important role in learner engagement, particularly in collaborative learning environments. Discourse analysis examines how students communicate with one another during group work, discussions, or peer review activities, and how these interactions contribute to engagement. Example. In a group project, students might discuss how to divide tasks. "You can handle the research, and I'll take care of the presentation." Discourse analysis would explore how language is used to negotiate roles, share ideas, and build on each other's contributions, revealing how peer communication supports or hinders collaborative engagement. 4. Feedback and motivation. Teacher feedback is crucial for maintaining or enhancing learner engagement. Positive, constructive feedback can motivate students, while negative or dismissive feedback can discourage participation. Discourse analysis focuses on how feedback is framed and how it impacts student engagement. Example. A teacher might respond to a student's question with, "That's an interesting point. Let's explore it further." Discourse analysis would investigate how this positive reinforcement keeps the student engaged and motivates others to participate, as opposed to feedback like, "That's not quite right," which might stifle future contributions. 5. Emotional engagement and language. Emotional engagement refers to the feelings of interest, excitement, or frustration that students experience during learning. Discourse analysis explores how teachers use language to create an emotionally engaging environment, how students express their emotions, and how these emotions affect engagement. Example. A teacher might say, "I can see you're really excited about this topic," to acknowledge and reinforce a student's enthusiasm. Discourse analysis would examine how such language creates a positive emotional climate in the classroom, encouraging students to stay engaged. It would also explore how students' emotional responses, such as expressions of confusion or frustration, are handled. 6. Classroom management and learner agency. Classroom management practices shape learner agency, or students' ability to make choices and take ownership of their learning. Discourse analysis examines how teachers manage behavior and structure activities in ways that either promote or restrict learner autonomy and engagement. Example. A teacher might say, "You can choose which project to work on today," giving students a sense of control over their learning. Discourse analysis would focus on how such language fosters agency, helping students feel more invested in their learning process. Alternatively, restrictive language like, "You must follow the instructions exactly as I've outlined," might limit students' sense of agency and decrease engagement. 7. Power dynamics and participation inequality. Power dynamics in the classroom affect how engagement is distributed among students. Discourse analysis looks at how certain students may dominate discussions while others are marginalized, and how teachers either reinforce or disrupt these dynamics. Example. In a class discussion, a teacher might consistently call on high-achieving students, limiting opportunities for less confident students to participate. Discourse analysis would explore how language reinforces or challenges unequal participation, and how this affects overall engagement in the classroom. Methods for analyzing learner engagement in discourse. 1. Conversation analysis. Conversation analysis focuses on the structure of classroom talk, including turn-taking, interruptions, and response patterns. It is useful for analyzing how participation is managed in real-time interactions and how engagement is negotiated through language. Example. Conversation analysis might reveal that certain students rarely take turns in class discussions, or that the teacher frequently interrupts students. The analysis would explore how these interaction patterns either support or hinder learner engagement. 2. Critical discourse analysis, CDA. Critical discourse analysis, CDA, examines how power relations and social inequalities are reflected in classroom language, focusing on how discourses of engagement are shaped by broader institutional or societal norms. Example. A CDA of classroom interactions might reveal that girls are less frequently encouraged to participate in STEM subjects, reflecting gendered discourses that discourage female engagement in certain academic fields. The analysis would focus on how language reproduces or challenges these power dynamics. 3. Ethnographic discourse analysis. Ethnographic discourse analysis combines discourse analysis with ethnographic observation, providing insights into how engagement unfolds in specific social and cultural contexts. This method is particularly useful for understanding how classroom dynamics shape and reflect student engagement. Example. In a multicultural classroom, ethnographic discourse analysis might explore how cultural norms influence students' willingness to participate. The analysis would focus on how teachers use culturally sensitive language to promote engagement among diverse learners. 4. Interactional sociolinguistics. Interactional sociolinguistics examines how social identities, relationships, and cultural norms are constructed through interaction. This method can reveal how engagement is shaped by students' and teachers' use of language in different social contexts. Example. Interactional sociolinguistics might analyze how a teacher's use of informal language, humor, or personal anecdotes fosters a more relaxed and engaging classroom atmosphere, encouraging students to participate more freely. Examples of learner engagement in discourse analysis. Example 1. Questioning techniques and engagement in a history class. In a history class, a teacher might ask, "How do you think this event influenced later developments?" Discourse analysis would focus on how the open-ended nature of the question encourages students to engage critically with historical events, requiring them to analyze cause and effect. The analysis would explore how this type of questioning promotes deeper cognitive engagement compared to more factual questions like, "When did this event happen?" Example 2. Peer collaboration in a science lab. During a science lab, students working in groups might discuss how to conduct an experiment. Let's try increasing the temperature and see what happens. Discourse analysis would explore how peer interaction fosters engagement by allowing students to negotiate ideas, take risks, and share responsibilities in the learning process. The analysis would also consider how the teacher facilitates or monitors these interactions to promote meaningful engagement. Example 3. Feedback and motivation in a writing workshop. In a writing workshop, a teacher might provide feedback like, "Your argument is clear, but let's work on strengthening your conclusion." Discourse analysis would focus on how the balance between positive reinforcement and constructive criticism helps maintain the students' motivation and engagement in revising their work. The analysis would explore how feedback that emphasizes growth and effort, rather than focusing solely on errors, enhances learner engagement. Example 4. Emotional engagement in a literature class. In a literature class, a teacher might ask students how they felt about a character's decision, prompting responses like, "I was really frustrated by the ending." Discourse analysis would examine how these emotionally charged discussions deepen engagement by connecting students' feelings to their interpretation of the text. The analysis would focus on how emotional responses are integrated into intellectual engagement, making the learning experience more meaningful for students. Example 5. Power dynamics and participation in a debate. In a classroom debate, a few students might dominate the conversation while others remain silent. Discourse analysis would explore how the teacher manages turn-taking and encourages quieter students to participate, perhaps by using language like, "Let's hear from someone who hasn't spoken yet." The analysis would focus on how language is used to distribute power more equally, promoting broader engagement in the debate. Challenges in analyzing learner engagement through discourse. 1. Complexity of engagement. Learner engagement is multifaceted, involving cognitive, emotional, and behavioral components. Discourse analysts must account for these different dimensions of engagement and how they manifest in classroom interactions. 2. Contextual variability. Engagement is highly dependent on context, including the subject matter, classroom environment, and individual student characteristics. Discourse analysts must consider these contextual factors when interpreting language use and engagement patterns. 3. Power and inclusion. Classroom power dynamics can affect who gets to engage and how. Discourse analysts must be sensitive to how language reinforces or challenges inequalities, ensuring that all students have opportunities to participate and engage meaningfully. Conclusion. Learner engagement is crucial for effective teaching and learning, and discourse analysis provides valuable insights into how language shapes engagement in the classroom. By examining participation patterns, questioning techniques, feedback, emotional connections, and power dynamics, discourse analysis helps educators understand how to foster deeper cognitive, emotional, and behavioral involvement in students. Whether analyzing classroom discussions, peer interactions, or teacher feedback, discourse analysis highlights the important role that language plays in creating an engaging learning environment that promotes student success. Through this lens, teachers can refine their practices to encourage more meaningful and inclusive student engagement. Frequently asked questions. What is learner engagement, and why is it important in discourse analysis? Learner engagement refers to the level of interest, participation, and emotional involvement that students display during learning activities. Discourse analysis studies how language influences and reflects engagement in classrooms, offering insights into communication strategies that foster active participation and motivation. How does discourse analysis study classroom participation to assess engagement? Discourse analysis examines turn-taking, teacher prompts, and who speaks during discussions. By analyzing participation patterns, it reveals how teachers structure interactions to encourage or discourage student involvement and how certain students may dominate or be marginalized in classroom talk. Why are questioning techniques important for understanding engagement? Questions stimulate cognitive engagement by prompting students to think critically and explore ideas. Discourse analysis looks at question types. Open-ended questions encourage deeper thought and discussion, while closed-ended questions may limit responses, affecting the depth of student engagement. What role does peer interaction play in learner engagement? According to Discourse Analysis, peer interaction supports collaborative engagement as students communicate, negotiate roles, and build on each other's ideas. Discourse analysis examines language used during group work to understand how students contribute to collective learning and whether such interactions enhance or hinder engagement. How does teacher feedback impact student motivation and engagement? Constructive feedback can motivate students, while negative feedback might discourage participation. Discourse analysis explores how feedback is framed. Encouraging phrases may boost student confidence, whereas dismissive language could stifle future contributions and reduce engagement. How are emotional expressions analyzed in discourse analysis to assess engagement? Discourse analysis examines teachers' acknowledgement of student emotions, such as excitement or frustration, and how such responses create an emotionally engaging environment. Recognizing and validating emotions can enhance engagement, making learning more meaningful for students. In what ways do classroom management practices influence learner engagement? Classroom management shapes students' sense of agency. Discourse analysis studies whether teachers' language promotes student autonomy, e.g., you can choose your project, or restricts it, e.g., follow instructions exactly, affecting students' investment in their learning. How do power dynamics affect engagement in classrooms? Power dynamics impact participation equity. Discourse analysis explores how language either reinforces or challenges unequal participation, analyzing if certain students dominate discussions or if teachers use language to ensure equal participation among all students. What methods are used to analyze learner engagement through discourse? Conversation analysis analyzes turn-taking and interruptions in classroom talk. Critical discourse analysis, CDA, studies how engagement is shaped by power dynamics and social inequalities. Ethnographic discourse analysis examines engagement in real-world educational contexts. Interactional sociolinguistics focuses on how social identities and norms influence engagement. How are learner engagement challenges in diverse classrooms addressed through discourse analysis? In diverse settings, discourse analysis considers cultural and linguistic variations affecting engagement. By studying culturally sensitive language and inclusive practices, it reveals how engagement can be enhanced for students from different backgrounds, promoting equity in participation.